I'm hip.
Third of Exodus is about the Mishkan, the sanctuary.
Correct.
It is a route to God, perhaps more immediately accessible than anything we have today. The purpose of the Mishkan is to house the presence of God. So is God with us today? Is God in our homes? Is He in our cars? Is He in our businesses and in our shuls and our Torah talks? There's no better question than, is God in our midst?
Are you asking? The answer is yes. He's like, God is here, God is there, God is literally everywhere. Up, up, down, down, right, left, and all around. That's where He can be found. Here, there, and everywhere.
Oh, there's a great Hasidic rabbi says, where is God? God is wherever you invite Him in.
You know, so God is everywhere. The idea that there's something outside of God is pluralism, and that's avodah zorah.
But we need to create a space for God. We need to invite God in. We need to bring Him into our lives. And I can tell when I walk into a secular home, it has a different feeling when I walk into a religious home.
Okay, you're answering your own question right now. Keep going.
Well, all I know is I used to date this woman who was a pornographer.
It always goes back to porn.
Well, she was a photographer, and very artistic. A lot of her work was very artistic, and really nice.
Highbrow.
Really nice girl, and she'd done a degree in English from UCLA. She was very well read, and we had great times, great times.
All right.
And her parents had given her a house, and so she didn't like the hovel. She wouldn't be with me at the hovel, so I always had to go to her place, which was about 10 minutes drive away, which was pretty convenient, so I'd go over there. And great family, great girl, great times with this girl, but it's totally secular. She had never been in a church or a synagogue in her entire life.
Okay.
And so you'd walk into this house and everything's clean, everything's neat, it wasn't slovenly, and there were interesting photos on the walls, and there were lots of books, and it was a great place, but it was totally secular. This girl was totally secular. She had never set foot in a church or synagogue in her entire life. The realm of the holy and of God and religion was just totally absent.
Okay.
So on the other hand, that was really cool in that she was pretty experimental. Pretty much anything I wanted to do, she was down for. And so she didn't have a lot of religious hang-ups about doing different things.
Okay.
So there was some real advantages to it, and she was fun and funny, and she had interesting work, and we could discuss our work together because we both worked in the same industry.
Is there a point to this?
Yeah, her home and her.
Let's get back on track.
Totally secular. It was had a completely different feeling, and then when you set foot in a religious home, even if it's religious Christian, religious Jewish, religious Muslim, Buddhist, whatever, it has you get in touch with the transcendent. I remember I'd been flirting with communism and atheism and all that for a few years in my late teens, early 20s, and I started coming back to religion through listening to Dennis Prager. So I moved back to Australia, and my sister's religious, my brother's totally secular, and I met up with the Seventh-day Adventist girl. I was kind of with her for a few months. So when I go to her home, even though they were Seventh-day Adventists, it definitely had a transcendent religious dimension. You could feel it, in the artwork and
you feel
books.
When you're in her home, you feel like you're in God's kingdom.
Well, there's you could tell that this is a family that's trying to reach the transcendent. And then my brother is a great guy, totally secular. There's like nothing about reaching the transcendent.
They lived in the
brother's
kingdom
house,
of God.
In my brother's house. So, like, I think it's important to create a space and create avenues to reach out for the transcendent.
Okay, that's wonderful. Can we get back on track?
I think
because
we've never been more on track.
Because I was going to say you were answering your own question.
Yeah.
Because you asked me a series of questions, if you will. Can you go back to the page with the questions?
Yeah.
Okay. You asked me a series of questions. Get to the thing with the, where's the question mark? Oh, is God in our midst, right? Like, you know, is in our house and this and that. And then you started saying that, you walk into some houses
and they're totally secular.
And they're totally
secular. Like they're shooting movies there.
Right, and then you walk into other houses and you feel like you're in the kingdom of God.
I feel them reaching for the transcendent.
So I want to say that you're starting to answer your own question. Because God is everywhere, right? You go in the bathroom, the toilet is a part of God. Right? You can't say that the toilet is outside of God. That's polytheism.
It's not outside of God, but God. I feel God's presence more.
Okay, you feel
outside of the toilet than inside the toilet.
You feel God's presence more, and there's actually an aspect of, it's not just you feeling it. There is an aspect of God that is not inside the bathroom, and you'll find Him in a place like the Mishkan. Like, we don't need a Mishkan for God to be on the planet. God, the planet is God. God's everywhere, right? But what's the idea of a Mishkan? Is this redundant? Doesn't He already live here? It's a higher level of godliness that of Himself. There's different levels of God. God at like His lowest level is what you see here on the planet. But God at a higher level, in a higher spiritual plane, like the Shekinah, which is a much higher level of God, which produces more godliness, that isn't going to live in the toilet. You're not going to see the Shekinah in the toilet. Okay? The Shekinah is made for a place like the Mishkan. Right? So you build this Mishkan, you build this sanctuary, whatever you want to call it, and it's a place that can embrace that level of God, that God should come and bring that Kedusha into that place. Now, I wanted to say that when you walk into a home and they have Sfarim, and they have, the wife covers her hair, and the husband has a long payas and a nice kept beard, right? You walk into like a really holy place and he's learning Torah, right? That's a place where the Shekhinah dwells. Right. That's a higher level, because it says, the Shekhinah dwells anytime that there's somebody learning Torah, right? That's a higher level than when you walk into a house and nobody's wearing any clothes, and then they're all like banging like there's no tomorrow with somebody with a projector.
With a video camera.
With a video camera.
Now that don't say it like it's a bad thing. That can be a lot of fun. but it's not as holy as
there's no Shekhinah in a porn
flick. There's no
flick.
Shekhinah. So like you'll see a lot of porn. You'll see some porn films, and you'll see a mezuzah on the door.
Oh, that's because they're all filmed in the valley, and there's all Jews out there.
But I've yet to see a porn film where there's an Igret Moshe in the background.
Okay, that's Heshi Fried's joke.
Yeah.
You know what? You forced me to bring him up because you plagiarized his joke.
But it's a great point. Like, I haven't seen yet like a whole shelf full of art scroll.
You have a habit of stealing other people's material. Like last week, you came up with the oldest joke in the book with an honor on offer. You didn't make that up. I've heard that when I was like born. That was like the first joke I ever heard.
I'm extrapolating, making a profound theological point. I'm not just making like cheap laughs about.
You gotta make your own material. Don't steal other people's material, Jack. Or if you're going to quote
but
them,
I'm making a point. Like
credit them.
Like a mezuzah on the door is good, but it's not enough to stop porn from being filmed there. But you have a whole bunch of sporum in the house. It's highly unlikely they're going to shoot bang bus there.
Much more unlikely. But the thing is about that mezuzah on the door,
yeah,
chances are that's not a kosher mezuzah anyways.
Why? Because they shot porn there?
Well, here's why. Ready?
Yeah.
For the viewers that don't understand this.
Yeah.
95% of all porn that you watch, let's say, is probably shot in the San Fernando or what's that other the Seaman Valley.
Yeah.
They call it the Seaman Valley. The Simi Valley or San Fernando Valley, right? It's all out there.
Yeah.
That's where it's all filmed. Most of those people are Jewish. Like the whole valley is Jewish, right? And the average Jew in the valley, they put up a mezuzah on their front door, but that's it. They don't put one on like every doorpost, right? But they put one on the front door. I mean, I know how the valley thinks, right? And if you look at the mezuzah and you opened it up, it's not kosher. It's probably made out of paper. And it's something, it's not parchment, it's paper, and something is typed on it, from a printout, right? But that's what's on the door, it's like the ram's blood, it's like, we're Jewish, and they leave it there, and then the porn company comes to them and says, hey, we'd like to film in your house, and how much is it? And we'll give you like, whatever.
$1,000.
That's all they pay him? But they don't take I would take the mezuzah down before they film, but no, they leave it up, and then it starts with her like coming with like a pizza or something, right?
Yeah.
And then like he opens the door and you see the mezuzah,
yeah.
right? And like he doesn't look Jewish or anything, yeah. Right? And she's like, "I'm bringing a pizza," right? And like the next thing you know, they're. Okay.
Well, often they have the mezuzah on the front door, but what they're actually shooting is through the back.